Hello YouTube, welcome to my first video of 2025. Today we will be reading Letting Swift River Go by Jane Yolen and Barbara Cooney. That's copyright 1992. Author's note. The Quabbin Reservoir is near my house, one of the largest bodies of fresh water in New England. It is a lovely wilderness, eagles soar overhead and deer mark out their paths. But once it was a low-lying valley called Swift River, surrounded by rugged hills. There were towns in the valley filled with hard-working folks whose parents and grandparents had lived there all their lives. Then, between 1927 and 1946, all the houses and churches and schools, the marking of our lives, were gone forever under the rising waters. The drowning of the Swift River towns to create the Quabbin was not a unique event. The same story, only with different names, has occurred over the world wherever nearby large cities have had powerful firsts. Such reservoirs are trade-offs which, like all trades, are never easy, never perfectly fair. When I was 6 years old, the world seemed a very safe place. The wind whispered comfortably through the long branches of willow by my bedroom window. Mama let me walk to school all alone, along the winding blacktop, past the old stone mill, past the Grange Hall, past our church, not even meeting up with George E. Warren or Nancy Vaughn until the crossroads. See, there goes the narrator. Their house and walked to school in this church and by the houses in the background. Georgie and I fished a swift river in the bright days of summer, catching brown trout out of the pools with a pinhook and a bit of thread. We played mumbly peg in the graveyard and picnics on Grandpa Willstone. The black one stayed warm all day by sewing up the hot summer sun. There's narrator fishing with her Georgie. There's a dog and our friend, her grandfather Will's grave. And many a summer night I slept under the backyard maples with Nancy Vaughn. We listened to the trains starting and stopping on Rabbit Run, their long whistles blowing in the dark, startling a screech owl off its perch off on the great elm. Lying there, looking up at the lengthening shadows of trees, we'd see the fireflies winking on and off and on. There's the train in the background. There's the narrator at the backyard maple with Nancy Vaughn. It is dusk. One night, Nancy Vaughn and our cousin Sarah from the city brought 3 mason jars to my house. We caught fireflies in them, holding our hands over the open house. Mama came out to what she said. "You have to let them go, Sally Jane," she said to me. So I did. There's Sally Jane, that's the narrator name of my mother. There's Moon over in the background over the farmhouse. Into deep winter, Papa harvested ice from Greenwich Lake. Mama kept a stove going in the house all day and all night. I swept under 3 eider downs and Grandma's quilt. Later in March, we put baskets up on all the maples, dipping our fingers down to the sap and tasting the thin sweetness. See, there's Sally Jane helping family harvesting ice from Greenwich Lake, and there they are harvesting the maples. But then everything began to change. The men went to the Grange Hall time after time. The women too, only nobody asked us kids. They all listened to men from Boston because the city of Boston, 60 miles away, needed lots of water. Boston had what Papa called a mighty long thirst and no water to quench it. We had water here in the valley, good water, clear water, clean water, cold water, running between the low hills. We could trade water for money, or water for new houses, or water for better life. So it was voted in Boston to join our town so the people in the city might drink. See? There's the Grange Hall, and there's the Grange Hall. They're getting for me. It would change in the future, First, we moved the graves, Grandpa Will's Blackstone, and the Doubledays and the Downings, the Metcalfs, and the Halls. Papa read the headstones on the trucks that helped gather the small remains, hauling them to the new cemetery where everything would be fresh and green. Sometimes all the men found were buttons or teeth or a few thin bones. Papa said they left the Indians where they lay. No one wanted to bother with them, but I thought it right. They remained in sacred ground. The black flies were fierce, Papa said, fierce. He had bites in his eyes, so like these. Seriously, there's Sally Jane's father, and moving the graves, especially Grandpa Will's. There's a pickup truck and a wheelbarrow. Dirt and wheelbarrow boards and a pickup truck. Then the governor sent his woodpeckers to clear the scrub and brush, to cut down all the trees, the maples and elms, the willows and sycamores, and the great spreading oaks. They were stacked like drink straws along the roads and halls away. There the trees things change. It's a huge epic change. There's a fox watching from a hillside. There's a truck carrying the lumber. Another truck carrying lumber. Two trucks carrying lumber. See the houses. And our houses came next. Some were bulldozed. One great push and they went over after 1 or 2 centuries of standing strong against wind and snow and rain. Georgie and I watched them push down the old stone mill till the windows of one wall stared out like empty eyes at the far-off hill. See, here's Sally Jane and George be watching the old stone mill being demolished by a bulldozer, and it's going to be demolished soon. Mr. Baxter's house went by truck along the blacktop to his new home in our town, as slow as any child going to school. Nancy and I ran alongside for ways, but had more breath than we did. We stopped panting, watched till it was out of sight. Then Mama and Papa and I moved away to New Salem, one big hill over in a tiny house. My room was warm all winter long. Nancy and her folks went to the city to be near her cousin Sarah. I never heard where Georgie went, never even got to say goodbye. See, there's a house. Where's Mr. Baxter's house going but carried by truck? And Nancy, there's Sally Jane and Nancy waiting to the house. The truck being moved. Strangers came with their big machines, building tunnels and caissons. The Windsor Dam and the Goodenough Dike. Papa brought me over to watch on most Friday afternoons. You've got to remember, Sally Jane, he said. Remember our town, but it didn't seem like our town anymore. There were no trees, no bushes, no gardens, no fences, no houses, no churches, no barns, no halls. Just a long gray wilderness and a hole between the hills. See, there's the massive change. A steam shovel, a dump truck, a mobile crane, the huge, massive dam. Sally Jane and her father watching everything change. The waters from the dammed rivers moved in slowly and silently. They rose like unfriendly neighbors halfway up the sides of the hills, covering Dana and Enfield, Prescott and Greenwood, Greenwich, over all the little swift rivers. So all the little swift river towns. It took 7 long years to see things change. My river. Much later, when I was grown, Papa and I rode out on the Quabbin Reservoir. Behind us, we left a bubble trail through the late afternoon and well into evening. We sat in the little boat, and Papa pointed over the side. Look, Sally Jane, he said, that's where the road to Prescott ran. There's the road to Beaver Brook. That's the church you stood where we had you baptized. And the school and the grain shawl and the old stone mill. We won't be seeing those again. I looked. I could see the faint outlines, but I could not read the past. The little perch now owned those streets, and bass swam over the country roads. A rainbow trout leaped or flight, and the water's egg rings rippled through. I was kept laughing. There's Sally, her father, hurling at early evening. When it got dark, the stars came out, reflecting in the water, winking on and off like fireflies. I leaned over the side of the boat and caught the starry water in my cupped hands. For a moment, I remembered the wind through the willow, the trains whistling around the crossroads where I had met Georgie Warren and Nancy Vaughn. Gone, hull gone, underwater. See, now Sally's Jane's moving on the stars. And now, dark now. Then I heard my mother's voice coming to me over the drowned years. You have to let them go, Sally Jane. I looked down to the darkening deeps and smiled and did. That's the end. Thank you for letting Swift River Go by Jane Yolen and Barbara Cooney. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you more in this year for more videos coming soon. Thank you and goodbye for now.